and welcome to another live. If you are new here, my name is Veronia and my goal is to help as many women as possible save more money and start investing. So in today's live, I wanted to come on here and talk about the reasons why your budget isn't actually helping you to save money, which probably sounds quite counterintuitive because you're thinking, okay, isn't the reason why I'm doing a budget, if I'm doing a budget, shouldn't that be basically helping me to save more money? And 100% it should be, but I would say there are reasons why your budget probably isn't actually helping you to save more. So that's why I want to cover on in this live. Now, the reason why I chose this topic is because I was having a client call yesterday and we were talking about saving, and she was kind of questioning, okay, well, what happens if I have like these different savings goals? Like if you want to save up for a house deposit, but you also want to save up for a holiday, and maybe you want to save up for something else like a car. And I think she was just questioning, is that even possible? Like, how are you able to save up for multiple different things without it being so overwhelming? And I said that the reason why, in terms of you actually saving money and being able to save for multiple things, if you want to know if you can do it, if it's feasible, your budget will tell you. And I think she maybe looked at me like, okay. And the reason why I say that is because your budget will tell you how feasible it is for you to save for things on your current income, and it will tell you if there are other things you might need to do. So if you're looking at your budget, it will tell you whether you can save for multiple things. So let's say that you're trying to save up for your house deposit and you're trying to save up for a holiday and also a car. You will know if you can do it on your current income if you're actually budgeting properly, if you actually know where your money is going, if you can actually tell what the numbers are saying. And what it could be is that when you look at your budget, it could tell you whether it's feasible, whether you can save up for these multiple things, or if, for example, maybe you don't currently have enough money to do that. So in that case, you may need to look at your expenses. Are there ways you can save money on your expenses? Or potentially you might need to make more money. But if you're asking yourself that question, is it possible for me to save, or is it possible for me to save for multiple things? Your budget should be helping you to decide that. And if your budget isn't helping you to decide that, then there's something wrong with the way that you're actually budgeting your money. So I actually want to just quickly walk through 3 reasons why your budget isn't helping you to save more money. And I've got my notes here so I remember what I'm saying. The first reason, you're using your budget to restrict you rather than benefit you. Now, I am one of those big believers where your budget should be used to benefit you. Your budget will not restrict you unless you tell it to restrict you. You have ownership in terms of how restricting you should be with your money. So if you are using your budget to consistently restrict you, then it's not going to help you save money. So if, for example, you're using your budget to tell yourself that you shouldn't be spending money on, I don't know, going out to eat, or you shouldn't be spending money on any forms of entertainment, or you shouldn't be spending money on, I don't know, buying clothes, for example. If you continuously restrict you, especially if you are someone who is a natural spender, what will happen is that you will feel so restricted that you will end up spending more money than you were supposed to. Because again, it's like going on a crash diet. If you go on these crazy diets and you restrict yourself so much, you may get to a point where you now you feel like you want to eat everything. And so you end up even eating more food than you were supposed to. And so everything just kind of falls like out of place, and then you're actually in a worse position than you were before. So one of the reasons why your budget may not be helping you to save money is because you might be restricting yourself with your budget, and rather than actually using your benefit to help you, rather than using your budget to actually benefit you, to think about, okay, how can I actually save money with the current income that I have? So that's the first reason. The second reason why your budget might not be helping you to save money is because you may not be using your past spending to help guide you when you're thinking about your future spending. Now, the reason why I make this point is because I feel like sometimes we get really confused with tracking our expenses versus actually setting a budget. Those are two different things. When you track your expenses, you're simply looking at how you actually spent your money. So let's say that you got paid and then, you had all of your expenses through the month. And then at the end of the month, you decide to look at how you did. Like, you decide to look at how much you actually spent, how much you spent on groceries, transport, eating out, everything, right? If you're doing that, you are tracking your expenses, but you're not necessarily making a budget. The difference between tracking your expenses and making a budget is when you're doing a budget, you're actually deciding where you want your money to go. You are telling your money what to do before the money has even come into your pocket. So when you're doing your budget, you're actually doing it before payday. Initially, that's how a budget is supposed to work. You're actually looking, okay, how do I want to spend my money this month? How much do I want to spend on groceries? How much do I want to spend on eating out? That is when you're setting your budget. Whereas if you're tracking your expenses, you're seeing how you did with your income, your spending, at the end of the week or the month. And so the problem that we have is a lot of us tend to either do the budget or they tend to just track the expenses, but they don't do both. So I had a client who was doing the budget and she was doing her budget well, but she wasn't actually tracking her expenses. And so what that meant was she was still doing the budget without actually evaluating to see whether she was budgeting accordingly, like whether she was actually budgeting well. And so what I mean by this is, if, for example, you set a budget for 150 on groceries and you tell yourself that is the budget that you want to set, but at the end of the month, you don't realize that you've actually spent 200 on groceries. And because you haven't been tracking your expenses, the next month you decide, okay, now I'm going to budget another 150, without realizing that consistently you may actually be spending over 200 just on groceries. And so what that means is every time you get to the end of the month, you may end up not having enough money. So you might, again, have to actually go into debt because you don't have enough money. Or if you try to save money at the beginning of the month, you may end up dipping into your savings because the budget that you set wasn't what you actually spent. So you ended up spending more than your initial budget. And if you need to find the money somewhere, well, if you've got savings, you may have to use it. So what I'm saying is, when you're actually doing your budget, also be looking at how you actually spent your money before, because that will then help you to decide, okay, what to do with your next budget. So for me, whenever I'm doing my budget before the next payday, what I will do is I will just have a look at what happened last month. Are there any changes that I might need to make? For example, for this month, groceries has just flown out the window. Groceries, we've just spent so much more money on groceries. And again, we haven't bought anything extravagant. It's just been our normal food shop. So for me, in my head, I'm thinking, okay, for next month, we're probably going to have to increase the groceries budget because it seems like we're going to spend a similar amount. So it makes sense for us to now budget a bit more so that next month, if it happens again, we're okay, we budgeted for it. So if you're someone who's been trying to budget and you're thinking like, why am I still struggling to save money? Why am I dipping into my savings? It could be because you are not using your past expenses, how you spent your money in your past, to help guide you when you're actually doing your budget. So that's the second one. Let's talk about the third one now. And if you've got any questions, please do let me know or feel free to DM me as well. So the third reason why your budget might not be helping you to save money is because you are not linking your budget to your savings goals. So what do I mean by this? Let's say that you have a goal to save up 12K in a year. So you want to save 1K each month in order for you to save up that 12K. Great. What most of us will do is that they will have that goal and then they'll just leave it to the side and then they'll go about their day and then they'll just, start doing their budget and do whatever. But the problem is if you're not bringing them two together, what is actually the point in you budgeting? Because then you'll be thinking, I need to restrict myself, but I have no idea why I'm restricting myself. I don't actually know how much I'm supposed to be saving. So what's the point in doing the budget? So the budget should be a vehicle to help you actually reach those savings goals. That's the only reason why I budget, essentially. Like, yes, I want to know where my money is going, but at the end of the day, the reason why I have this budget is for me to understand, okay, I have this particular savings goal and I want to meet it. The budget is just simply going to help me do that. I know that if I save 1K a month, I have this much to save and I have this much to spend, and then I can go about my day. There is no point in just having that budget just sitting there for no reason. Why? Because why would you do it? Unless you really like numbers and you find like just plugging numbers fun, which personally I do. But then otherwise there's just no point, okay? So when you're thinking about your budget, you should be asking yourself, is this matching up to my savings goals? If I want to save 1K a month, do I then have 1K a month in my budget? And then I can figure out, okay, with that budget, I'm saving 1K a month. This is how much I have left to spend. If it's not enough, if I feel like I actually want to spend more, that's when you start thinking about other things you can do. So again, maybe you reduce expenses somewhere else where, you know, you could save a bit more money and then use that to spend in another area. Or maybe you decide, actually, I need to make more money. Maybe I need to start a side hustle, or maybe I need to ask a promotion at my job. But if you're not linking up the two, your savings goals and your budget, well, then how would you know? How would you know if you have enough to save? How would you know? Because if you're literally you've got your savings goal, but you're not using your budget properly, how would you know if you're able to save the amount that you need? And how would you know whether you actually do need to reduce your expenses or if you just want to increase your income? You won't know that until you actually plug it in, put the numbers in, and you actually do the budget, and then you have a look. So I'm saying this to say that when it comes to saving money, don't let the budget just be something that's on the side where like it's just telling you not to spend money. Your budget should not be telling you not to spend money. If it's doing that, that's because you decided to make sure that you don't spend money. But your budget should be the answer to help you figure out, okay, if I want to save for these things, or if I want to save for multiple things, how can I do that? Realistically, can I do that? And if I can't, what do I need to do instead? Do I need to make more money? Do I need to reduce my expenses in other areas? Let your budget actually tell you, rather than you thinking that it's just impossible. Because for many of us, we think that we can't save money simply because we just haven't seen the numbers. We just feel like, oh, our expenses are too high, we don't have enough money. But then the question is, like, is that actually the reality? Is that true? If you haven't actually looked at your numbers and you don't really understand how much your income is versus your expenses, how would you necessarily know if you are able to save money or not? You won't know until you actually plug in the numbers and you figure it out. And if you want to, like, you can call it a budget or spending plan, whatever it is, it's the same thing. Just making sure that you have a look at your numbers and see realistically if you can save. That will then help you to save, because then you'll be able to say, okay, actually, I may not be able to save 1,000 a month, but I can save 500. And if I do want to increase it to 1,000, I know what to do. I know what to do to increase it. But you're not going to be able to know until you actually plug your numbers in, until you actually start thinking about, how can I budget my money well? So that's all I wanted to talk about today. If you do have any questions, please do let me know. And if you do want further support when it comes to saving a lot more money, that is what one-on-one coaching is for. You can check out the link in my bio to book a call with me, just to find out more about working with me. Every single client I've worked with, they've been able to save more money, and we do that through actually using a budget that works perfectly for them. It doesn't have to restrict their spending. I don't believe in restricting your spending for no reason. So using the budget correctly can actually help you to save more money. But I'm going to leave it there. I do actually need to film a YouTube video now. So if you do have any questions, feel free to message me. But I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.